Sparks continue to fly among justices on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. This week, Chief Justice Annette Ziegler did a series of media interviews following the Liberal majority's multiple moves to alter the court's authority structure. You'll recall they'd voted to restrict the current powers granted to Ziegler and spread them among two other justices on the court. They also voted to make the court's administrative meetings open to the public after a Republican majority closed them in 2012. Ziegler said the move was unconstitutional and not how the court should behave.
Now, I think sunshine is the best disinfectant, so I'm trying my very best to let the public know what their court is doing. It is completely inappropriate. It is shameful.
In statements, the Liberal justices said they disapproved of the public comments from Ziegler and thought the matter should be discussed internally. They did not respond to requests for comment. Joining me now to lend some insight is former state Supreme Court Justice Janine Geske. Thank you for taking some time to be with us this morning.
Happy to do it.
Well, a tense 2 weeks from the state Supreme Court. Were you surprised at how quickly the sparks flew once the Liberal majority took control?
Well, yes, I guess I was. I thought that a little more time might pass. I figured it was going to happen, but it happened pretty quickly, and on the day and right after the investiture of Justice Protasewicz.
And in your opinion, did the new majority have the right to fire court officer Randy Koschnick and then make those protocol changes that they did?
Well, I think, 4 justices is a quorum. And I don't think there was anything improper than what they did. I was concerned initially when some of the news came out because the Chief Justice was saying this was done in the dark of night and that they weren't given notice. But, later on I saw quotes by Justice Dalletz indicating that she and others had asked the Chief Justice in, I think, May and June to set some day in August that they could do some of these administrative changes, and that the Chief Justice had not refused or failed to set any dates. So that, and as I understand it, again, from reading the news and hearing the news, that the court, that the 4 issued, an agenda because the Chief Justice wouldn't, and that the other 3 were contacted and asked to participate either in person or by email or by Zoom, and the 3 did not agree to do that, and so the 4 met. So, at first it looked bad, I think, in that it looked like they were doing things without having an opportunity for the other side to speak. But if in fact they were given some notice earlier, then I'm not surprised they acted the way they did.
Well, regardless, the Chief Justice, Annette Ziegler here, has gone and done multiple media interviews within the last week here and kind of about her thoughts on this. And we have reported at WKOW that the Liberal justices disapproved of the public comments and thought the matter should be discussed internally. However, each side felt about what was going on and what they did. So why do you think there was this big media blitz here from Ziegler?
Well, I think, she had been in the most powerful position before the election, in that she was the Chief Justice and she had at least 4 supporters on the court, and that has shifted. And so I think that, she, and I know Annette, I think she's a wonderful woman, but I think that she perceived that they were taking power away from her, and she obviously is in the minority and sort of lashed out. I think it's really unfortunate that we've had this media blitz on what's happening. These are the kinds of issues that ought to be handled behind closed doors with the justices sitting around a table, and then wherever the votes go, they go.
So when you were on Capitol City Sunday back in February, Janine, you discussed the Supreme Court race with us and said at the time it was way beyond too partisan. after such accusations of partisanship kind of resurfacing again these last couple weeks, do you think it's going to be that much harder for the court to show that their decisions are rooted in law rather than in politics?
Well, I think that certainly Justice Protasewicz is going to have some challenges because some of the things she said during her campaign. She repeatedly indicated, and I've known her for a long time, and that's what she's done before. She repeatedly indicated that she would decide the case on the merits, and that her values, as she called them during the campaign, were not necessarily going to shade her decisions. But that's going to be a challenge. But I have to say that's not new. I think in the last several years, with so many political cases at the court, there's been a sense by the public that political issues are being decided partly on political grounds and not on legal grounds. I don't know I don't think it's justified, but that's been the perception. And now, after this very partisan, expensive race, I think that perception will continue, and the court's going to have to work hard to make sure that people understand that they are in fact following the law. And I'm sure they will, but the perception is important.
And speaking of that perception, and you said the court is going to have to work very hard to make sure that they're proving that these decisions are going to be law-based, not politically issue-based. How can they do that? Would that just be, making sure that they're showing we're following the letter of the law when they're making decisions? I mean, we're probably going to see the lawsuit to repeal the state's near total abortion ban coming up here soon. I think that's probably going to be a big sticking point here for people. So what can the court do to show that they're rooted in the law here?
Well, I think the most obvious answer to that question is how the decision is written. That to lay out is simply and clearly, not only for lawyers and judges, but for the public, why they are basing the decision the way they are. I mean, that's the heart and soul of it. But I also think how they write about each other in the opinions. We've had a number of opinions come out of the court where people have taken personal attacks against people that they disagreed with. And that has been terribly misfortunate because, it should be about a disagreement on your interpretation of the law or the judicial tests you're applying, and not about the personality or politics of others. And some of the, particularly the dissents, but some of the opinions have actually really been very personal and politically based. And I think that has to stop. And the other part of it is that the court proceed trying to regain the confidence of the public. Now, the four justices have indicated that some of the change of internal operating procedures are hopefully going to address some of the transparency issues, which are also going to be important, where they held their conferences in the open courtroom so people can see and hear it, and Wisconsin Eye will cover it. And I think, as much as the justices can go out and talk about how they decide cases and why they decide cases without particularly addressing one case, all those things can help build confidence. But, in light of our very divided country politically, I think it's really important that they work hard on that. Because if people don't have faith in the court, then the court doesn't serve its purpose, of providing justice, because if people think somehow people are just voting their legislative views, it really tears down what the court was meant to do.
Well, former Justice Janine Geske, thank you so much for being on the show this morning to lend some expertise to this issue.
Happy to be here. Thank you.